Hello and welcome. My name is Mary and I'm the host of Prologues, a lifestyle podcast where each episode is like a digital journal entry detailing whatever it is I'm going through in life at the moment. I talk about my journey with mental health, relationships, wellness, beauty, personal development, and more. So join me every Monday morning for a reminder that we're all still figuring out life for the first time and you are still in the beginning of your personal story. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Prologues. Today we have another Freewrite episode, which is the name of the Prologue series where I brain dump, where I just speak stream of consciousness style with little to no preparation about thoughts that I've been having. Whenever I record these, I always think to myself, this is so disorganized. Why would anyone listen to this? And then these are always some of the episodes that you guys like the most. I don't know what the appeal is personally, but I'm more than happy to keep doing them because one, less work for me because there's no prep time, and two, I have nothing if not a lot of thoughts. Like I was born to talk a lot. That's why I have a podcast. That's why I do what I do. I was one of those little kids that everyone said talk too much, got in trouble for talking, your mouth is going to get you in trouble. So many opinions, all these things. And so I'm really like living in my truth being a podcaster, really living up to my potential, shall we say. So we're free writing. Again, the name Freewrite comes from the idea, it's like a writing principle. If you have writer's block or you need to get your creative juices flowing, you force yourself to put pen to paper and just write nonstop for a set amount of time or pages until the block unblocks itself. So whether that's, 10 minutes or 10 pages, you just keep writing. Even if you're writing, I don't know what to write over and over again, you just make yourself do it. That's where this segment title comes from. It was actually a suggestion from a Prologues listener, and I think it's very apt and very fitting. And today, there's a lot of things on my mind that I want to talk about, and they're all loosely related, all kind of related to current events and the current state of society and like the things that I'm freaking out about these days. So let's do it. Let's just do it. Where do I even start? Recently, Elon Musk went on the Joe Rogan Experience and said that empathy was a fundamental weakness in Western civilization. I didn't watch the episode. I'm not giving my listening time to that podcast or to either of those men, but I saw the clips circulating social media. You probably did too. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. I don't even know how long ago this was, but it was quite recent. I just haven't been able to stop thinking about that statement and also empathy as a whole. First of all, fuck him. Fuck him disrespectfully in every sense of the word. I hate that guy. Also, I've just never heard someone say that empathy is a bad thing before, ever in my life. And after he made that statement, I saw all these clips circulating, and most people, I kind of live in somewhat of a blue bubble online, I'll be honest. I don't venture outside of that blue bubble often. So most of the commentary that I saw about it was critical, but I did inevitably see people supporting that idea and saying that empathy was a bad thing and it was leading to our downfall. And I just can't get that out of my head. So I wanted to talk about it. One of many things I want to talk about today. This brings up so many questions for me. Empathy being a fundamental weakness in Western civilization. First of all, why just Western civilization? Like, I don't think that Western civilization has more empathy than anywhere else in the world. So the fact that he said that is kind of weird to me. And then also, I guess I can't be surprised that he said that because when you think about his business models, the way he conducts business, he is a very like efficiency first person and like hyper productivity to the point of actually like sacrificing anything that makes human effort valuable and unique. Like he's one of the people who was forcing people back into the office. He's obviously executing all of these budgetary cuts in the government in the name of efficiency, which is not going very well. And so it makes sense to him, like it makes sense for him to think that. It makes sense for him to think that empathy, which is like this thing that I feel like connects all of us and one of the things that makes us human, is seen as inefficient or a waste of time to him. But that I just couldn't disagree more. Empathy to me is about being able to put yourself into somebody else's shoes and to consider somebody else's point of view. It's about having just like general compassion for other people. It's about being able to think about other people and not just yourself. And I would say that those are all undeniably good things. And so it's kind of like bizarre to me to learn that apparently a lot of people think empathy is a waste of time. Just going on record here and saying, I think empathy is a good thing. Never thought I'd have to say that on the internet, but I can't stop thinking about it. And I think one of the reasons why it's sticking in my brain so much is because I've been thinking a lot about brain rot recently. And I think empathy is one of the major antidotes to brain rot. The antidote to brain rot is like human connection. So, brain rot was named Oxford's Word of the Year for 2024. And it refers to, let me define it for you guys, the official definition, the supposed deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state, often attributed to overconsumption of trivial or unchallenging online content. So it literally means like people becoming dumber and struggling more socially because their brains are being fried by mindless, pointless, addictive content that's meant to like lull your brain into this false sense of sleepiness and like never using your brain for anything. Brain rot can refer to like a person's state of mental being, but brain rot can also refer to like the type of content that this is talking about. Brain rot is worse with short form content because you're getting these really quick, fast hits of dopamine and then scrolling to the next one and getting another fast hit of dopamine and then doing that over and over and over again, which I mean, I've talked about not only my relationship with TikTok and other short form media platforms before, but also my experience with social media addiction and like dealing with this. I do think, TikTok and other short form platforms like Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts are all bad for this, but I think TikTok is the worst. Those algorithms are designed to be as addictive as possible to keep you on the app for as long as possible because that increases their revenue. The longer you're on these apps, the more ads you see, the more like you can be influenced to buy things, the more money that you're putting into the system. And so it's in these platforms' best interest to keep you engaged there for as long as possible. And my relationship with it is tricky to me because I'm an influencer. I create this content. I love long form content the most. I love YouTube, the podcast, and getting back into Substack blogging. But you can't, like, it's very, very difficult to have a career on social media without making short form because that's the content everybody wants to watch. So I feel like I do my best to not make it brain rot, to make it interesting. And I mean, I wouldn't say like my short form content is the most intellectually stimulating content out there, but I do try to talk to you guys and be real and, make it more than just mindless. But my relationship with this is tricky because I am contributing to the flow of short form content online every day. And I can try to do it the best way possible, but I am still involved. So I have a complicated relationship and a lot of inner turmoil about my own like contribution to the system. I usually try to tell myself that, based on the data being like the messages and the comments I get from you guys, I can see that my content is providing value in some way, whether that's entertainment, whether that's something that's thought provoking, whether that's a form of escapism, whether it's beauty tips, like fashion inspiration, like whatever. Based on what I'm hearing from you guys, there is some level of value in it, which is why I keep doing it. Like if I was providing literally absolutely zero value to the world, then I wouldn't be able to personally stomach doing it because yeah, the money's great and that's nice, but I mean, it's very nice. I'm so grateful, but I wouldn't be able I wouldn't be able to do it if I felt like I was not contributing anything positive. So if there ever comes a day where, people stop messaging me to say that they've found comfort in my content or it's inspired them to do something or it's been helpful or useful in some way, then I would stop because that would be the end of my contribution. So that's what I like remind myself of a lot. And I also feel like at the start of this year, I struggled a lot. I talked about this in a recent YouTube video, but I struggled a lot at the start of the year and I was having trouble finding out, or I was having trouble deciding for myself what the point was of what I do. That spiral was most definitely influenced by current events, current political events. And I was just, for like a month and a half thinking to myself, like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, there's so much bad in the world and there's so much hardship in the world. And there's just so many things happening right now. Like, what is the point of me getting online and making my little videos and recording my little podcast? And it can seem frivolous. It can seem like it's not making a difference in any way. It can seem like just useless. So I took literally like 6 weeks. I took a long time off of YouTube blogging, and I wasn't producing a lot of content on any platform during that time because I was just thinking to myself, like, what's the fucking point? And I had to do some soul searching, and I did find the point. I'm happy to say I did find the point for myself, which I don't know if you've been noticing that I've been posting a lot more recently. It's because I found the point. It's because I like learned what it was, or I decided for myself. Um, but yeah, so like I have all these complicated relationships about me and my job and social media, et cetera, and brain rot and not wanting to contribute to brain rot. Let's like bring it back around to my original point. So when I think about brain rot, I think about a couple different things. I think about those TikToks where someone is reading a story out loud, like whether it's an Am I the Asshole story or maybe it's a clip from a radio show, and then in the background, they've spliced together a million different videos from other creators, whether it's cooking or like, I don't know, 5-minute hacks or those videos where they're cutting soap or whatever. And they only play a few seconds of each clip so that your brain is constantly like staying engaged because you're listening to the story, but then the visuals are changing constantly. Or I think about those videos where someone's doing like Maze Runner in the background with a story playing. To me, that's one of the epitomes of brain rot content because that is every single element of that is designed to keep you watching the video. And for me, those provide no value. Like listening to Am I the Asshole stories, while sometimes it can be like mildly entertaining, it's mostly just like for shock value or literally just to keep you on that video. TikTok's Creator Fund only monetizes videos that are over 60 seconds. So think about that the next time you get sucked into this spiral of watching a 10-part, you know, Maze Runner Am I the Asshole series on TikTok. Think about how much money that creator is making by literally like often stealing other people's original content, like all those, the ASMR, the soap cutting, the cooking, whatever. Those are all other people's original content that someone has stolen and spliced together to make an addictive video to show you so that they can make money. That to me is the epitome of brain rot content. And the effect that I see of brain rot around me, whether that's in people I know in real life, stuff I've noticed in myself, or most often what I'm observing in comment sections, is kind of scary. I think that brain rot has made all of us less empathetic and more reactive and more what about me and what aboutism, and leads to the bean soup comments. You know what I'm talking about. When I see someone post a well articulated, well thought out, nuanced, interesting take. And the comments are full of, well, what about me? What about this hyper specific situation that you obviously weren't talking about? What about this? What about, I'm like, that's brain rot. Like the younger generations that are growing up on social media and who have never known life outside of social media are growing up thinking that that's a normal reaction to hearing a nuanced take. And they're not able to put themselves in anybody else's shoes. And they're not able to recognize that not everything is about them all the time. It's not just the younger generation. This happens with people of all ages, I think, who get sucked into the brain rot cycle. But I mean, I feel like I do see it a lot with younger people because they've just never known life outside of social media. I'm 26. I was born in 1998, and I feel incredibly lucky to be a member of the last generation to have a childhood outside of social media. My first experience with social media was when I was like 11, 12, and it was Yahoo chats, and like I don't even know if this exists anymore, but it was like Yahoo chats and than a Facebook. And that was my reward for learning how to type. Once I learned how to type and could type very quickly, I can type 94 words a minute, by the way. I think that's fast. If you can type faster, don't tell me. I think I'm fast. And so my reward for learning how to type was getting like a Yahoo Mail account. And in those days, you could make the Yahoo account and have chats with other people that were in your contacts. And then I think you could post status updates. I don't really remember. I think you could post public updates, but you definitely could chat. And then you could also post on Yahoo Answers, which is like a question and answer forum. And so that was my first ever experience with social media. And I think that was when I was 11 at the youngest. I think it was 12. And then I got a Facebook kind of around that time as well. I don't have either of those things anymore, but it is so like interesting to look back and think about what my first experience with this was. But I do think that's young, but that was still like I had a whole childhood before that, a childhood of playing outside and playing in the dirt and being creative. And, my mom being like, you need to go play outside till dinner time. Don't come back in the house because I need some time away from my 6 children. So fair, by the way. And so, like, me and my siblings would make up stories and we would act out scenes from stories that we had created, and we would pretend to be characters, and we would have like we would stage imaginary battles, and like my little sister and I would make mud patties, and we would make soup and make potions, which is what we called taking a bucket and filling it full of rocks and leaves and mud and like all the stuff. We would stir it up and like we would be making potions. We just had imaginations that my parents like thoughtfully curated through encouraging us to read, minimizing our TV time. When we had TV time, we had to be watching like, semi-educational content a lot of the time, like Miss Frizzle and the Magic School Bus, or we would occasionally have like movie nights as a family where like my parents would pick something. But I remember with TV, you could only watch, well, first of all, we didn't have TV, like we didn't have cable. So we had like VHS tapes. You could only watch a movie or something after dinner if all your chores and all your homework were done, but you could only watch like an hour, and you had to share with the siblings. So there was like never a moment where you could just like hog the TV basically. And then I remember at one point we got a video game console. And so again, you could only play a video game if you were done with your chores, done with your homework, and it was after dinner. And then again, you're sharing with like so many other people. So it was just very limited screen time. And then on the weekends, like sometimes we'd have movie nights and stuff. And so my parents were always like, you need to read. You're bored, read a book. You're bored, go outside. You're bored, use your imagination. I'm a very imaginative person to this day. So imaginative. My imagination runs crazy. It's to the point now where it's actually like maladaptive daydreaming. But I like my imagination is so big. I have so many I was trying to explain this to someone recently. I construct like feature length films in my head at night before I fall asleep. I love getting in my bed and like turning off the light and snuggling in to go to sleep because I have multiple like movies and also episodic, almost like TV show type storylines running in my head. I am always the protagonist. Sometimes they're romances, sometimes they're like fantasy. So, like there's so many genres. I put myself in like historical stories all the time. Like I just have I was trying to explain this to someone recently, and I could tell the way they were looking at me. I was like, no, I'm not crazy. This is normal. Please tell me that you do this too. Yes. And so then the person I was talking to was like, well, why don't you write them down and like write books and like just be an author if you have all these stories in your head? And I was like, oh, that is something I could do. I could download that creativity from like the cloud in my brain, and I could actually like make them tangible and turn that into a career. It's like kind of crazy that I didn't think about that myself actually. But yeah, I just have a big imagination, and it's because as a kid I had to, or else I'd be bored all the time. Where was I going with this? This is like the epitome of a Freewrite episode because I'm just talking. Empathy, brain rot. Younger generation. Yes. Okay. I've got it. I've circled back. So the younger generation, Generation Alpha, is growing up completely online. And so they are like genuinely learning the lessons they're learning, I think, are not healthy or productive online. I think, we're not teaching kids how to self-soothe. We're not like letting them be bored. When you're bored, that's when imagination and creativity start flowing. But if you're constantly like numbing yourself with 24/7 social media consumption, when are you ever like giving yourself a quiet moment to have an original thought? I know for myself, when I'm in a phase of like bad media addiction, I'm not being creative. I'm not feeling fulfilled. I'm not enjoy in my life really, because I'm not giving my brain room to breathe and expand and grow. And it freaks me out that this is the direction society is heading in. And that's why I have all of these like spirals about my contribution to it. Like, just being honest, this is a reason why I feel like maybe having children isn't for me. One of the reasons. I have a lot of reasons, and I'm not like totally closing myself up off to the idea of having kids because I'm only 26. I feel very young, and I don't know how I'm going to feel in my 30s. I think like women are having children later and later in life now. And so I don't know how my fertility is, so I can't bank on this. I don't know if this would be possible, but like, I don't know if maybe I would want to have children and then have children when I'm 38 or something. I just don't know. But this is one of the things that scares me about having kids in today's day and age, is like teaching them how to navigate the social media minefield and raising empathetic, bright, imaginative, like well-adjusted, emotionally regulated children. Because I'm not saying, like, I don't think that kids these days are worse than kids of other generations, like inherently or morally or something. I think kids these days are facing very different challenges than all of the generations prior, because we didn't have social media like this when I was younger. We're also like, kids now are being raised in a post-pandemic world. The pandemic was fucking hard, and it started when I was 21. And so I was already an adult. I had already graduated. I graduated when I was 20. So I'd been graduated for a while. And, I was working my 9 to 5. I was in a relationship. Like, I was, for all intents and purposes, an adult when COVID started. And I still struggled heavily, as did we all. And that's me going into it already having like these critical periods of social development and, I don't know, just experiencing the world beforehand. The world is fundamentally different now in a post-COVID society. We're raising kids that missed out on all of these years of socializing because of the pandemic, that missed out on years of schooling, and they're now being raised in like a world that's full of generative AI and 24/7 media consumption. And I'm just like, I get scared thinking to myself, like, how are they going to be? What kind of adults is this going to lead to? I do think I'm seeing more people around my age now recognize this and call it out and make commitments to themselves, to raise their kids in a more offline type of way, which I think is a positive. And I'm not blaming any parents who, relied on TV or social media, especially during the pandemic, because that was like unprecedented times, truly. And I think everyone is just trying to get by and do the best they can. And like, sometimes you have a single parent who's just drowning in responsibilities. Like, there's so many factors that have led to this, that are leading to this. It does give me some comfort though to see people my age being like, you know what, I'm seeing the detriment. I'm seeing, the way that this is shaping young minds. And so I'm going to try to raise my kids in a more like 90s, 2000s type of way. I've even seen loads of videos online of people saying that like current cartoons for children are too mentally overstimulating. And so they play their kids like 90s cartoons like Brother Bear and or Miss Frizzle and stuff, because it's like a lower, I'm not sure what the term they're using is. It's not as stimulating. It's like a slower, calmer, less neon, loud in your face type of content. It's better for little brains. But the other thing with raising kids, this is what freaks me out so bad. I had a long conversation with Matt about this recently. How are you meant to raise children and keep them safe on the internet right now? Because pedophiles are everywhere. The alt-right pipeline is very easy to fall into, especially for young boys, and there's porn everywhere. I was having this conversation with Matt. We were talking about like both of our first experiences seeing porn on the internet, or like being exposed to porn, learning that porn exists. And we were both teenagers, young teenagers. Like, do you guys remember Omegle? Traumatizing. But we were both teenagers, and even that feels young. But like, kids today can be exposed to pornographic content when they're like 7 or younger. And then you're telling me you're supposed to raise like healthy, well-adjusted, feminist men when they could be 6 or 7 or 8 years old and be like exposed to Nazi content or porn? how are you meant to do that safely? Because it's like, it feels kind of shitty to like not allow your kids any social media or like a phone or any devices when you know that all of their peers and all of their friends will have it. So you don't want your kid to be like the odd one out, because that would set them up to be bullied or just to feel like really socially ostracized. Like, whether we like it or not, social media is like a very common part of social development now. Like, for better or for worse, this is how kids are socializing. So you don't want your kid to be an outcast, but then how do you keep them safe? I spiral about this constantly, and it is definitely a factor as to why I feel like I couldn't bring a kid into the world, at least right now, because hopefully we're going to get it together, hopefully we're going to change. I feel like we all need to be fighting against brain rot every single day. And I think we also need to recognize that the antidote to brain rot is human connection, and it is empathy. And I just do not think that empathy is the downfall of civilization. I could not disagree more. I think empathy is what's going to save us, actually. Empathy for other people allows you to consider their perspective, which stops you from being like, what about me? Empathy for other people makes you understand when someone else has an imperfect take or an imperfect past, and you have like grace for them growing and changing and becoming a better person. Empathy allows you to feel compassion for other people, which can motivate you into philanthropic or altruistic pursuits. Empathy is what makes you share your resources. Empathy is what leads people to donate or to protest or to community organize. Empathy is what allows you to be there for your friend who's struggling, which helps you build your village. How could anyone say that empathy is a bad thing? I'm like, I feel like I'm going to tear up right now. I can feel little prickles in the corner of my eyes. My eyeballs feel hot because I just, how could you say that empathy is a bad thing? I believe in human connection more than I believe in efficiency. Like, say you have an employee. I believe that your employees' welfare is more important than you squeezing every last drop of productivity out of them. I think empathy allows you to listen to somebody else's point of view and not agree with them, but try to understand where they're coming from and how they got there, which can in turn lead to you having a good conversation with them and maybe exposing them to new ideas. And like, it is hard to have empathy for some people. I'm not going to sit here and say I have 100% empathy for every person on this planet. I definitely don't. There are people that I hate. There are people that I never want to speak to. There are people who I do judge, okay? There are people who I just don't fuck with, but there are way more people who I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to be open to, and you can't do that without empathy. Maybe this brings up a philosophical question of, do you think you can be a good person without empathy? Like, do you think a lack of empathy is a moral failing, or that it's inherently necessary to being a good person? I feel like I would err more on the side of empathy is necessary. But I mean, clearly people have different takes. Like, clearly people have different perspectives about this, and I just didn't know that. And I think that's why this is like rocking my world right now. And I think like when I'm exposed to an idea that I have a knee-jerk negative reaction to, or I just don't agree with whatsoever, I do try to learn, because I hate not knowing things and I hate not understanding things. So even if I'm like learning about something while hating it the entire time, or thinking to myself the entire time that like this is bullshit, I still want to learn about it so that I can understand what the other person is thinking or why they could possibly think that way, because I don't want to be ignorant. But yeah, I just like heard that and I immediately was like, no, 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 no. I didn't even know people thought like that. So now I'm trying to learn, like, why do some people think that empathy is a bad thing? And I just, yeah, even though I've read some articles, I've read some think pieces, I've read a lot of comment sections that freaked me out, because I'm trying to understand this other point of view. And I now am familiar with that point of view from reading about it, but I don't agree. I completely disagree. I think empathy is going to save us. I really think empathy is one of the the few good things that we have left. And I think empathy is the answer to maintaining our humanity as our lives become increasingly digital and technological. The human connection and humanity are very important to me. And I get so emotional when I think about like all the humans that have come before us and all the other humans out there in the world who have their own struggles, but like we're all motivated by the same things. Humans, since the beginning of humanity, have been motivated by like the need for shelter and safety, the desire for community, lust, love, sadness, grief. All these things are universal human feelings. And to me, that's one of the most beautiful things on earth, that you can be separated from someone geographically, or separated through religion or gender or anything like that, but we're still motivated by the same like core feelings and experiences. That's beautiful. It's so beautiful. We're all so different but connected in so many ways. And if you don't like hold that in your heart, how can you, I don't know, how can you love other people? How can you have compassion for other people? How can you appreciate differences? How can you love yourself? I don't know. 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 I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out about it. Oh, yeah. Empathy is going to save us. We all need to be looking out for brain rot and trying to fight that in our own lives. What are we going to do about the kids? That's what I have for you today. Well, I guess that about wraps it up. This was truly a brain dump, but this is kind of how it goes for me. Like, these are things that I think about 24/7, literally. And I guess none of these topics is like something I feel like I could make a structured episode about. So that's why I like to get on the mic and just talk. And I think I do this in the hopes that some of you guys are going through something similar, or you're freaking out about similar things, because these are like inside thoughts, these are like things I've been privately spiraling about. And so I think it does feel good to just like get it out there, because one, I think when I talk about things like this, it gives you guys a better understanding of my values. Like you would not be able to listen to this podcast episode and have any doubts as to like what some of my core values are when it comes to what's happening in the world right now. And I think it's, yeah, I don't know, just kind of gives you a sense of like where I stand on certain things, and also what's important to me and what I freak out about, because I do freak out a lot. Anyway, thanks for listening. I want to hear from you guys. Are you freaking out about this? Let's talk about on Instagram. I haven't been posting the Prologues Instagram as much because I traveled a lot in March, and with the audio only episodes, I didn't have like the podcast clips that I like to post, and those always serve as like a good starting point for discussions. But yeah, back in the studio, so we can talk about this now on Instagram. It's the Prologues Podcast on Instagram. I'm hoping, I think this is a little ways off, but when we hit 10,000 followers on the Instagram, I'm going to do a giveaway. And I already know what the giveaway is going to be. Let me check how many we have. I think this is going to take a while. Well, maybe not. I don't know. If I have like one podcast clip go viral, maybe that would be all it takes. We're at 8,420 followers. When we reach 10,000 followers, I'm going to do a giveaway. And the only reason why I'm waiting till we reach 10,000 is because I feel like I have to set milestones and like benchmarks and stats for myself somehow. So that's just kind of what I decided. Although if like, I mean, I'm not gonna like beg anyone to follow the podcast. So if we just stay at the same number, like that's fine. If we get to a point in a little while where I'm like, actually the podcast Instagram isn't growing at all, it doesn't make sense to like not do the giveaway because of that, then I'll just do it. I think today was the 80th. No, last week was the 80th episode. This was the 81st episode. Waiting till 100 episodes feels too long as well. I don't know. I have this idea for a giveaway, figuring out when I'm going to do that. But let's talk about all of this on Instagram, because I just thanks for listening. I'll catch you next week. Bye.